Okay, here is my audience.
Can you see?
I can now.
Okay, my name is Crystal Scoggins, and the story that I'm going to tell you about is called What Goes Around Comes Around. So there was a man driving on his way home from work one day, and he noticed a lady stranded on the side of the road. It was cold and it was rainy, and he was like, well, I got to stop and help this lady. So he pulled his old car over to her Mercedes, and he got out and he smiled and was waving, and the lady was scared, but she had already been sitting there for an hour and tons of cars had gone by, but nobody stopped to help her. So she cracked her window and he was like, ma'am, my name is Brian Anderson and I'm here to help you. So she was like, thank you so much, I've been sitting here forever and nobody's helped me. And so it ended up she had a flat tire, so he's out in the cold rain changing her flat tire for her and scraped his hands up, he was bleeding. And so whenever he got done, he went back to her and he said, you're good to go, I fixed your car. And she said, thank you so much, what do I owe you? And at that point she was willing to pay him anything because she was just so thankful to have her car fixed and she could get back on her trip home. She was from out of town. So he said, you don't owe me anything. He said, that if you really want to repay me, he said, what you'll do is next time that you see somebody that's in need and you're able to help them and think of me whenever you're helping them out. So she was like, okay, well that sounds good, and she rolled her window up and she kept going, and she needed to stop and fill her gas tank up, and she was going to get a bite to eat. So she stopped at a gas station and filled up her tank and went inside. She ran inside to get a bite to eat, and behind the counter was about an 8-month pregnant waitress, and she came running up and handed the lady a dry towel to dry her hair off and got her a cup of coffee and took her order and all that. And the lady was like, how could this stranger be so kind and warm to me? I know she's tired, she's been standing on her feet all day, she's pregnant, but she's still so nice to me. And so whenever it was time to pay, she handed the waitress a $100 bill. And the waitress ran off to get her change. She came back and the lady was nowhere to be found. And she was like, oh my gosh, how could this lady have left her change? Gave me a $100 bill and forgot her change. And she noticed a napkin on the table. And the napkin read, you don't owe me a thing, I've been there before and I know how it is. Keep the change, and if you really want to pay me back, what you'll do is next time when you see somebody in need and you're able to help them, you won't break this chain of love, you'll help them out. So she noticed 5 more $100 bills under the napkin on the table, and so she was just so teared up and thankful that the lady had done that. And she went home that night and she was laying in bed with her husband, and she couldn't help but think about what had happened. How could that lady have known that she needed the money? And so she said, good night, honey. She said, I love you, everything's going to be okay. I know that the baby's due next month and the bills are due, but she said, I love you, Brian Anderson, and everything's going to be okay. So the moral to the story is that what goes around comes around. An act of kindness is a good investment. How you do others is how they're going to do you. That's it.
Audience is still here.